Making Big Shifts, presented by Marketing Reboot, with your host, Josh Anderson.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Making Big Shifts by Marketing Reboot. I'm your host, Josh Anderson, where we're talking to real entrepreneurs making real results, or real big shifts in the real results that follow. Today, I'm kind of fanboying out here because we have Joshua Becker on the podcast. He is the founder and editor of Becoming Minimalists, which is a website dedicated to intentional living. He's also the #1 Wall Street Journal and USA Today best-selling author of 4 books. Another one came out last Tuesday. We'll get to that at the end, but Unclutter Faith, Things That Matter, The Minimalist Home, and More of Less. So welcome to the podcast, Joshua.
It's good to be here. Thank you so much. I look forward to the conversation and see if I can help in some way.
Oh, for sure. So I'd say about maybe a year ago or less than that, 6 months ago, one of my business coaches she was talking about Things That Matter, the book back here. And she's like, Josh, you got to read it. I feel like a lot of this is, will speak to you. So I did read it, really, really fell into that mentality. And before we get into that, though, I guess we should kind of reverse a little bit. In your bio, it says that you were on like a 17 journey of minimalism. I guess the first question is, what is minimalism? And then how did you take your career down this path?
Yeah, sure. That is probably a good way to start. Things That Matter was written about 15 years into my minimalism journey. And so there's a lot of thought that went into it. I discovered minimalism 17 years ago. I was living a pretty typical middle-class American life. It was me and my wife. I was in my mid-30s. We had 2 kids, 5 and 2. I had 3 pretty significant pay increases over the first 10 years of our marriage, and yet for some reason was never able to get ahead financially. Felt like I should, but we were never deeply in debt, but just living paycheck to paycheck. Right. And seems like more money coming in. We should have been able to get ahead, but we weren't. My actual introduction to minimalism was from my neighbor. It happened on a Saturday morning. I was cleaning out my garage. My 5-year-old son was in the backyard asking me to come play catch with him. I kept telling him I couldn't play catch because I had to clean out the garage. I started talking to my neighbor, complaining a little bit about how much time had gone into cleaning out my garage. And she's the one who introduced me to minimalism. She said, that's why my daughter is a minimalist. She keeps telling me I don't need to own all this stuff. And there was a pile of dirty, dusty things in my driveway. Out of the corner of my eye is my son playing alone in the backyard. Suddenly had this realization that not only were my things not making me happy, but all the things I owned were actually taking me away from the very thing that did bring me happiness in life. And so that was the light bulb moment for me.
Right.
I think minimalism happens when we realize that our lives can be spent on things far more important than acquiring and accumulating material possessions. And when we see that, we can see how owning fewer things, owning fewer distractions frees us up to pursue things that matter.
Yeah. Whether that's a personal ambition or business, right? That just frees up the mental junk, as I tell my wife all the time. And it sparks creativity, and so much can go from it. Over the course, of course, Things That Matter back there, that was 15 years in the 17-year journey. What are some of the principles of minimalism, some foundational truths that you found over that time?
Well, that's a good question and a great question. Some of the foundational truths, some of the things that I go back to over and over again is that, number one, we all live finite lives with a finite amount of resources. We have a limited number of days and dollars and energy and even ability to make good decisions.
Yeah.
It's different for each person. Some people have more money and some people have more days, but there's still a set amount. And so what I choose to put in my days and dollars and mental energy matters quite a bit. Another foundational truth is that we live in a world that is constantly pushing consumerism on us. We see 5,000 advertisements every single day, and every single advertisement tells us at its core that our life will be better if we buy whatever they're selling. It'll be better or easier or more luxurious or more impressive, whatever it might be. And very subtly, we begin to believe those messages. And Maya Angelou once said that we need much less than we think we need. I think that's a core truth of minimalism. How I end all of my talks, all of my speeches with is, I say our lives are too valuable to waste chasing and accumulating material possessions, that there are just things that are better in life. And the wisest of us choose to pursue what is better.
Yeah. That's beautiful. That's awesome. Well, yeah, you just said that. Then I'm sure there's people listening or watching and be like, okay, that's easy to say. It's easy just to get rid of all these things I've amassed over the course of my life, right? How does one actually put something like this in place? Like, it's got to be small baby steps, right? Just chunks at a time. What is your advice on that?
Yeah, good. And I don't know where you want to go for sure. I think of there's two things that come to mind. There's the beginning steps of actually owning less, becoming
Yeah.
more minimalist, and then there's a second step of embracing the lifestyle going forward. A little bit like it's one thing to go on a diet and lose 20 pounds, and there's steps that you would take to do that.
Yeah.
But how am I going to change my eating habits and my lifestyle going forward so I don't add the
Yeah.
20 pounds back
Keep it
on?
all.
There would be different steps that you would give
Totally.
someone to do that,
Yeah.
right? But you're right. So most people, when we think about minimalism, we think about because we all, almost all of us, not everyone, but almost all of us start with, we have too much. And so how do we get to less? And you're right. It's baby steps, a powerful human principle called the progress principle. And the idea is that when our minds see progress taking place, we become more inclined to repeat the behavior.
Yeah.
So if you go on a diet and you don't lose any weight, then you like give up. But if you go on a diet and you stand on the scale and you've lost 3 pounds in the first 2 days, you're like,
Woo! Yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna keep doing it, right?
Yeah.
Or even like they did a study. This is so off topic, but I think it's so fascinating. They did a study with like buy 10 cups of coffee and get an 11th one free or whatever.
Right. Right.
And they
Right.
handed out cards that were just blank, but you had to punch 10 to get a free coffee. Or they handed out cards where you needed to buy 11, but they punched the first one before they gave it to you. And there's like an unbelievably higher percentage of people that returned with the one that had the punch already in it, even though they had to buy the same amount of coffee. It
Totally.
just looked like they were making progress.
Yeah. It's psychological, right? Yeah, for sure.
Yes. So all that to say, when it comes to minimizing and decluttering, like, start in the easiest place
Mhm.
that you could make a dent in your home. You don't have to start in your basement or your attic or getting rid of your book collection or your sentimental items. Like, just start in your living room or your bedroom or the clothes that you wear or your bathroom, like some space where you can make a difference just by
Yeah.
getting rid of some of the things you don't need. You can see the progress, you can feel the benefits, and then use that motivation to go to the next hardest space and the next hardest space
Totally.
and the next hardest space.
Yeah. Yeah, I think one thing I think I might pick it up in that book there, but it's like essentially I audit my wardrobe. I go through it every 6 months, and if I have not worn something that past 6 months, it's go unless it's like something very special.
Yeah.
But that's out of the wardrobe, right? So just small steps like that. So now let's go to the phase 2 of that, right? We've lost the initial weight, or we went through and audited or cleaned out the house. How do we keep that stuff from coming back in over the course? It's just so hard because like I have little children too, and like birthdays, it's just so many
Mm,
toys. It's like, oh my God, how are we going to use all these toys, right? Like, and it's hard to
yeah.
just tell the people stop giving gifts to my children, right? So how can we combat bringing all that stuff back in over time?
Yeah. I think that there's some of the best things we can do. And you'll know this, Josh. Like I'm sure you would say this. Like, as you notice the benefits of owning less in your life, you become less inclined to want to fill your home back up again with stuff. Like,
Mhm.
once you decluttered your closet and you discovered how easy it is to get ready in the morning, how much less mental energy and weight has to go into not just deciding what to wear, but deciding what fashions to buy and like what stores do I want and
Yeah,
sales, and am I going to get that new color? Like, just no, I have what I need and I'm happy with what I wear, and I'm able to focus on bigger and better things with my life.
yeah,
Like, as we notice the benefits of owning less, we become less inclined to want to
yeah.
fill back up again. I think that we really need to study some of the unhealthy motivations that compel us to overbuy in the first place. Like
Hmm.
why was I buying so much stuff that I didn't need? Why
Yeah.
No advertisers are like convincing us to buy, but no one is driving us to Target to put things in our cart, and no one's clicking to ship on Amazon. Like, we're making those decisions. And so there's some messaging that's
Yeah.
connecting with something inside of us that is compelling us to buy, and really studying that and learning that. And I think another step that we take is we learn that our money is only as valuable as what we choose to spend it on. And so I can buy more coats, I can buy a bigger screen television, I can buy a bigger house, I can buy a nicer car, or I could make memories with my family, or I could help out the child in poverty who doesn't know how they're going to go to college. Like, I can do real lasting good things
Yeah.
with my money. And once we see that, I think we become less tempted to waste it on buying stuff we don't need when we can see how much potential it carries in the world around us.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, 100%. That's the train I'm on right now. And like a lot, people listening, it could be like, well, this is entrepreneurial marketing podcast, right? But I think getting your personal life and that in order frees your mind to grow your business, frees your mind for marketing. Like you mental, because the mental capacity is opened up that way, right? And I'm sure you've
Yeah.
seen that with some of the people you've helped and worked with, right?
Yeah.
Hey, sorry to interrupt the podcast really quick. If you're getting value from making big shifts, please subscribe and tap the bell so you don't miss the next conversation. All right. They appreciate it. And now back to the podcast.
And, I work with entrepreneurs a lot. And the first thing is, well, if I can't go buy a bunch of stuff, then where's my motivation to keep achieving and striving? My counter to that is, like, I am more passionate about my life today than I ever was before. Just because I'm content with my possessions doesn't
Hmm.
mean that I lose motivation in life. I'm more motivated because I'm chasing things that are
Yeah.
actually going to matter in the long run and make
Big
a
impact.
difference in the long run. And I find my work is more meaningful and fulfilling and brings me real joy at the end of the day when I realize I can do it for something bigger and better than just more dollars at
Right.
the end of the day. Or even if it is more dollars, that those dollars can be used for something bigger and better than just buying stuff.
Yeah. I
Not to
think that's,
mention all the mental clarity that you mentioned. Yeah.
yeah. Well, I mean, it's huge though, right? I mean, the bigger picture, working for something that's not like a new car, right? It's to help pay for the school lunches at the local school or something, right? That allows you to get through the harder times. Like, like you, as
Yeah.
entrepreneurs, there's tons of different ups and downs, right? Having that bigger picture allows you to continue on, to carry on the good fight, right?
Yeah. Yeah, Dorothy Sayers, and I write about it in Things That Matter. She writes about the nature of work, and she says work in our culture today has become very selfish. Like, work is what I do for the paycheck at the end of the day. But originally, work was selfless in nature. Like, if you picture like the very first division of labor,
Yeah.
some guy goes to his neighbor and he's like, I'm really good at gardening and you're really good at hunting. Why don't you go do the hunting for both of our families? I'll do the gardening, and we'll both be better off because of it. And we'll just share what we have with one another. And some other guy hops in. He's like, I'm really good at building homes and I'm really good at sewing, and someone else says, I'm really good at managing and banking. And like, everybody's doing what they're good at and everybody is benefiting from it. I think that when we approach work that way, it helps us get through the hard
Yep.
times. It helps us do better work. We can see it as love to the people around us rather
Yep.
than just me trying to get more out of other people. And I
Yeah.
think that's where it comes from.
That's powerful, and that's really interesting and ironic because this morning I was journaling. I was talking about how work is more like a duty. It's a duty to those around you,
Mm.
and that's actually just kind of nails that as well. I think that's really powerful stuff. How have you seen? Okay, so there's minimalism in terms of like our physical world, but there's also minimalism in terms of the digital world. Do you partake in that as well? Do you help entrepreneurs kind of find that minimalism in the digital realm?
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah.
Things That Matter is all about the distractions that can keep us from a meaningful life. And I told people years ago, I was writing a book called Overcoming Distraction to Live a More Meaningful Life. And they're like, oh, are you going to talk about technology? And I said, yeah, that's going to be definitely one of the chapters because that's a
Sure.
big thing, but it's not the only topic in the book.
Right.
I talk about pretty weighty things like how the pursuit of money and the pursuit of fame and possessions and fear, how some of those things can keep us from living our most meaningful lives. But technology is certainly a big one. And I don't think well, let me try to rephrase that. It's both old and new, I think, in a lot of ways. Like I picture the first time television was
Yeah.
invented, that there were a lot of people that were thinking to themselves, oh man, television can become quite a waste of time. Radio probably first came out and they're like, radio can really become a waste of time. Or books first, the printing press, and like books can really become a waste of time. And
Yeah.
so I think technology is the same. It's just that it's brand new. It's more ubiquitous, I think, than radio or television
Right.
ever became. There's a lot of ways that technology can control us more than I think some of the other mediums have been
Mhm.
able to. And so it's new, but distraction isn't new. The best thing that I try to do in terms of keeping technology from becoming a distraction is I really try, and no one's perfect at this, I don't think, but discerning when am I using technology to create and when is technology just become about consumption and distraction? Because I live my life online. Like I'm a blogger and YouTube, and like I get to reach people because of technology. There's amazing things that I get to do because of it, just like radio and television and books. But technology can also become a distraction if I'm just using it to endlessly scroll
Totally.
on TikTok or play video games or social media or watch cat videos or whatever. And so, how am I using it in a way that benefits me? When does it just become a distraction? That looks different for each person, no doubt. But I think that's the paradigm, that the filter that I try to use is, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of it's context. Of course, everything's about context, right? But like, same here. I'm on the internet technology from like 8 in the morning till 5 at night, right? I
Yeah.
try to not be on it all the rest of the night because I have 2 young children, right? So I want to be focused. So I think it's a time and a place for everything, I guess, right?
Yeah.
So what are you working on right now that you're really excited about?
I just released a book last week. I have 4 books. The More of Less is the first one, and it is why minimalism. I wrote it to make minimalism attractive to everybody.
Yeah.
My second book is called The Minimalist Home, and it's how to do minimalism, how to go room by room through your home, things that matter. The third book is, hey, there are other distractions other than possessions that can keep us from meaning in life. And then this most recent book, I was a pastor for 15 years before writing
Yeah.
full time about minimalism for the last 15 years. So Uncluttered Faith is a little bit of like, still very involved with church and
Yeah.
my Christian faith. And so it marries the two.
Okay.
It's what does the Bible have to say about possessions? What does Jesus have to say about money and possessions? And so I'm real excited about it and
Yeah.
feel like uniquely positioned to have this conversation and to just shed new light, I think, on some of the
Right.
better living that Jesus was inviting us
Right.
to.
Yeah. And I'm sure people can find all of your books on Amazon. Where else can people go to find more else about you?
Yeah. My home base is becomingminimalist.com. That's my home base website, and everything flows through there. Also, joshuabecker.com, but Becoming Minimalist is the first
Love it.
and the main headquarters for me.
Yeah, for sure. Now, I know as we start to close up here, honestly, when I first heard about the minimalist approach and everything, in today's modern consumerism, right? It's just like, yeah, that's great, but I can't do it. Like, you know what I mean? It's like that sounds good for somebody that has all the money in the world and he can do that, right?
Yeah.
But it's not. I mean, anybody can do this. So do you have any like last words of advice for like just trying this approach to your life to just declutter and have more mental clarity? I always harp on the word clarity because that's what we push for all of our marketing campaigns, like clarity, 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 right? But
Yeah.
personal and physical life can have that too.
Yeah. Yeah. Minimalism is for anyone and everyone. Even if I don't have a ton of stuff that I need to get rid of to find minimalism. Minimalism is as much a lifestyle as it is anything
Yeah.
else. It's about deciding that there are more important things that I can pursue with my life than physical possessions. And so even if I don't have a lot that I need to get rid of, I think still just the thinking that, hey, I'm
Yeah.
going to live my life for something bigger and better and more meaningful than stuff is helpful. And I agree. You would probably say the same thing. Like, just find an area in life and start minimizing, start removing distractions so you can focus on what matters. And you'll see that there's a wonderful life of intentionality that is available to you. The clarity comes around that, and focus and passion and ambition as well.
Yeah, I love it. Well, thank you for being on here. Like I said, when you accepted coming to the podcast, I really got quite nervous, honestly, because The Things That Matter is a book I really do enjoy. I love people to go check it out. Also, check out the Uncluttered Faith that released last week. Thank you so much for being on the podcast and sharing some of your thoughts.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Thank you. Appreciate the work you're doing. Good stuff.
Well, thank you very much, Joshua. And for all of us here at Marketing Reboot, making big shifts, like, subscribe, and share. I'll catch you on the next one. Hey guys, thanks so much for listening to Making Big Shifts by Marketing Reboot. It would be a huge help to us if you subscribe to the channel and share this with somebody that you think needs it. Your support helps us continue to bring great guests on board and keep the conversation going. Have a great day.
Thank you for listening to Making Big Shifts. Like, share, and follow for more. Join us next time on Making Big Shifts, presented by Marketing Reboot,